Hey, thank you everyone, and thank you for being here. It's an amazing opportunity I got from Anne to have the possibility to share a little bit my knowledge and my connaissance, how you would say it in French, about the importance of sound and how you can strengthen your business impact with professional audio, professional sound. So first of all, who am I? Because it's important to know who I am and why am I talking about this? So first of all, I'm an independent sound engineer and audio consultant. I did my studies at the SAE in Brussels, so the School of Audio Engineering, and I built my own audio production and post-production company now about 5 years ago. Yep. In the beginning, I was mainly focused on doing post-production. So that has everything to do with finalizing, mixing sound, editing sound after it has been recorded. Mostly it were projects for movies, short movies, some corporate projects as well. On the right, I was working for live mixing, broadcast mixing for the football games. So I've done a little bit of everything and very creative part on post-production, so finalizing sound. But what I noticed a lot of the time is that actually the recordings were most of the time quite bad, and it was a pain in the ass to say it like that. Actually, to create something great in post production with bad recordings. So that's why I focused myself afterwards a little bit more on production. So I've been as a recording engineer working on movie sets, going with camera guys, recording corporate projects as well, and of course, recording from podcasts is something that I focused myself on as well. Um, Actually, which gave me the possibility to provide all my clients from A to Z. So for the start of a project to the end, to have the perfect sound and to, of course, be able to help other entrepreneurs to have the great sound. So there are 8 ways to gain more visibility and influence online at the moment. And I think now with COVID, it's important to, well, if you have an online business or if you're an entrepreneur or even a creative person and you want to gain more visibility and more influence online, there are quite a lot of things you could do and quite a lot of things you can create for that. First of all, well, most people know you can create a website. To have a certain visibility. But of course, having social media profiles is something that is important as well, that can help as well. You don't need to do everything on that, but focusing on a few of them, especially having at least one website or a landing page is quite important to show your business. And having some social media profiles definitely helps as well. Then, of course, you can write blogs. Um, you can start to create videos, make vlogs, um, well, have a podcast, creating webinars, and online trainings. And on all those last projects that are underlined, these are all projects where sound is implemented and is quite important. And I always say that sound equals H2O equals O2. And what do I mean by that? Well, for some people who maybe don't know the scientific terminologies of H2O and O2, it's basically water and oxygen. And why is sound equal water and equals oxygen? Well, most of the time, and let's say for us as human beings, water and oxygen is crucial in our life to live. And well, you can have bad quality water and bad or not that much oxygen, and it will influence our health. It will influence our life if it's bad quality. And the sound is actually the same for, oh, sorry, is the same for all projects because sound is the backbone of all audiovisual projects. It's that thing that if it's bad quality, well, we can probably live with that, but it will annoy us and it's going not to have the right impact if it's bad. And the sound is connected to the emotion. So I don't know if you've ever seen a movie on YouTube where actually during my courses, I had an amazing, or they showed an amazing example of the importance of the emotions and sound, where they took a part from a horror movie. So they played it to us. Very nice quality studio, quality speaker. So the sound was really sharp on. And I can tell you that the music and the way the sound was created on that scene, it was just horrifying. And you were just super scared. What they did then is that they changed that music from being horror music to music for carnival. And suddenly that scene became hilarious. Hilarious, just hilarious. And it was the same image that we were seeing. But it was that sound that was adding the effect, was adding our emotions on those visual things that we were seeing. And it's the same on all your audiovisual projects that you're creating. And it builds the connection between you and your listener, especially when it comes to the voice, when it comes to sound you're adding to have that influence on your project. If you're creating an animation movie, for instance, well, you need to add sound design. You need to add those sounds that can create that emotion, that connection to the things we're seeing, and that we're actually able to look at that project without having to look, but just by listening. And that's what is important around sound if you want to have the right sound for your project. And so high quality is crucial if you want to have the right emotion and the right connection, and of course, the right impact. Now, one of the things, well, in most of these projects, if you're creating a vlog, a video, podcast, a webinar, the first thing that you're going to do is record your voice or do something with a voice. And well, I want to show you a few examples in a podcast situation if you use different type of devices to record your voice. And first of all, let's start with my trusty old iPhone. Just to check, did you hear that or no? No. Okay, so I will need to change a little bit in sharing because I've had some problems with that. Let's try again.
So now I'm using my iPhone to record my voice. I'm standing in a room that has quite some reverb. So you can hear the reverb, you can hear my voice, and my iPhone is about, well, between 5 to 10 centimeters away from my mouth, which would be the normal distance you would do most recordings. And well, I do this recording to really make the difference, to show you the difference between using your iPhone or your computer sound or investing in a microphone and using a microphone. So yeah, I'm gonna switch now to the computer and then continue to the other microphones. So second, I'm recording now the podcast or the recording on my laptop, on my MacBook Pro. So you can hear that I'm again in the same room with a little reverb, and I'm positioned in front of my computer, as I would be when I would be recording or doing a webinar. So I'm really in front of the computer, and you can already hear the difference between the sound from the computer and the sound that was recorded from my phone. So here I'm using a low to mid-level range microphone. So it's a microphone that costs about €250. You can already hear a big difference between using the microphone from the smartphone and from the computer. I'm speaking now at about 5 to 10 centimeters away from the microphone, and you can still hear I'm in the same room I was before when you have quite some reverberance still. So I did this on purpose so you can hear really the difference in the reverberance and using a microphone, external microphone, instead of using your computer or smartphone microphone. So this time I'm recording on a high level microphone. So you can already hear a big difference really compared to the computer and using a smartphone and even to the mid-level range of microphone. So these microphones are really made to recording podcast in voiceover booth. I'm even standing now in the same room I was before, and you can already hear my voice quite a lot better. And I'm standing really at the same distance from the microphone that I was doing with the iPhone and I was doing with the mid-level range microphone. So there you can see and feel and hear the difference in the quality of the microphones depending on the price you invest in it. And of course, if you use the basic mic or not.
So I hope you quite heard the difference there. I know that Zoom can take down the quality a bit, so I hope it was quite clear. But what you can feel and see is that I was still in that same situation. And honestly, right now, I'm sitting in the same location, the same spot that I recorded those recordings. And the sound is completely different depending on the usage of microphone that you're doing. And well, let's say there are a few things you can do to enhance your sound. First of all is the choice of your microphone, the gear that you're going to use to record it with. And in this situation, you can actually see that investing in higher quality microphones is going to make your world a lot easier when it comes to having the right quality in the beginning. So you can hear that here, my room is not perfect at all. It has reverb, it has sometimes some noise from the street. And by using a different microphone, I actually changed my sound quality quite a bit in upscaling in the quality of microphone that I was using. Now I agree, and there are a lot of, well, I would say coaches that help individuals, help entrepreneurs to create audiovisual projects or create content in general for their businesses that say content is more important than quality. And I do have to agree for a small part that indeed your content, the thing that you're going to tell about, that you're going to bring, it's super important, the quality of the content. But the quality of your audio is as well going to have a lot of influence in the end. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs are mistakenly led by people that have done a lot of business. And it's true, you can create an online course with a microphone from your iPhone or from your computer with a Zoom session recording. It's possible, and sell for thousands of euros those courses, or for millions of euros. It's possible. But the difference is going to be is when a client or a customer is listening to two different people that bring the same value, the same content, but one uses bad quality microphone and the other one uses the right quality and has the right impact and right connection, the client will immediately switch to the one with the better quality of sound. And that's the thing that you need to think about. And I agree. I started myself when I was not a sound engineer to create audiovisual projects as well on cheap budgets. And it's possible. And you can do certain things. And I can even help you in that. There are some gear that is cheaper and that is actually quite great. And you can do a lot of amazing things with that. But at a certain level, if you go, of course, you're starting to create corporate projects and projects that come that are broadcasted on television, for instance. Well, there, at that moment, there is no question anymore to have bad quality or mediocre quality. It needs to be perfect. So depending on your budget, on your situation, you can invest in different type of gear that will bring you to different levels. But of course, there is a lot more than just that behind that.
So now I'm using my...
And actually, I was thinking, how can I help entrepreneurs to have the right mindset and the right vision about sound and have the right audio? And actually, I found an interesting acronym with my own company name, Sonata. First of all, if you're going to start to create an audiovisual project, you should do a good sound analysis. And I don't mean by that an audio analysis, but a very good analysis from your situation and your projects you're going to do. Of course, you need to use the optimal tooling, do a neat recording, do a very good auditory check, have the right technical workflow, and do some awesome fine tuning. Now, to go a little more deeper in that. So in a sound analysis, well, you need to watch what is the type of recording you're going to do. Is the recording in a controlled situation? Is a recording in a live situation outside where there are people, cars, noises happening around you? All these different type of situations are going to show you a path that you will need to look out for using different style of gear. For instance, If you're using or creating a podcast, in a podcast, you probably want to do that in a recording in a situation where there is, well, not any ambience around you, because you want the quality to be neat. You don't want to have your children or other noises in your podcast recording. Um, at least if you don't want to have too much post production to do, it's better that you shouldn't have it like that. And you're in a calm room, a good situation, a good microphone. But the style of microphone you're going to use is going to be different as well if you're creating a video or if you're creating a podcast. Because for a podcast, you don't mind that your microphone is in the middle of you, in right in front of you. If you're recording a video or doing a live webinar, you don't want that microphone to be right in front of you before your face, because you want everyone to see you. And you don't want, so the microphone can be in the picture, but it shouldn't be right in front of you. And that's important for if you're using a condenser microphone, the microphones that are mostly used for recording podcasts and are the best at doing that. And actually are the two last microphones that you heard in the example I made. Those microphones, if I would use one right now, I should have it 5 centimeters away from my mouth, right in front of me. That wouldn't work here, this situation where I'm giving a live webinar. So in those situations, I need a different kind of microphone. And even here, now I'm using a shotgun microphone. Those microphones are actually used on movie sets, are used for creating corporate movie and recording voices. And a lot of the time, you recognize them when they're in those fluffy things that you see on top. Sometimes when they don't film as well or don't have the right picture with interviews on live television, sometimes you see that those microphones are sticking out or somewhere in the screen. And those are great microphones that will pick up your voice very well, but they don't need to be at 5 centimeters away from you. In this case, my microphone is right there, and with the virtual background, maybe you will see it. Yep, you start to seeing it is right here. And this microphone is made really to record your voice at a little more distance. And the cool thing is, if you start to go away from, well, the center point of that microphone, your voice is quite going to disappear. At least you will hear me a lot less. That's the importance of those microphones, is that you want to have that. If you want to cancel as much sound as possible that is on the other side of this microphone, and you want to focus on your voice and having that clear sound. Now, if I would change now to the sound of my computer instead of this microphone, you will hear as well big difference. And here I'm using now the microphone from my MacBook Pro, which is not a cheap computer, but you hear it's a difference in sound quality compared if I go back to my shotgun microphone that is right here. So depending on the recording type you will need to do, you will need to use different style of gear. So that's important to think about that. Of course, where you're going to do that, is it going to be a recording that you're going to do, well, indoors, or is it going to be outside? That as well is going to influence the choice of your gear and in which conditions. Let's say if you have one person talking, multiple people talking, you don't want to have crossover interfering and what you can all have, or if that sound needs to be broadcasted as well in a live room. These are all things that are going to influence a lot the style of gear that you're going to use. Of course, once you know that, you can choose the best gear for that situation. For instance, just like I explained, for a video, it's great to work with those shotgun microphones because they will pick up your voice really well and they will cancel a lot of the sound that is around you. It will not cancel everything, so you preferably want to be in a situation where it's not too much noise from itself, but you could go away perfectly with these microphones and they're not in the screen right in front of you. Of course, it's important to know also how to install everything and use that gear. So all these things are, well, important to know and things I can help you with, of course. And then when we go over to the neat recording, well, what do you need to look out for during your recording? There are a lot of things that are important there, and especially during a podcast recording, you can make a lot of mistakes, and some mistakes are not bad at all because it's good to be human and make some mistakes. Some small little hiccups or little things that you do in your text are not necessarily bad to have in your podcast. So some of them you can leave, but sometimes if you make a huge mistake and you well say something wrong, or you need to, or indeed there was a sound suddenly around you that you don't want to have on your podcast, then it's important to know that you can just wait a few seconds and start over. Because the good thing is that you have post production, and in post production, you can edit those things. So you see, depending on the situation, of course, if you're doing a live broadcast, you don't have that ability to say, stop, we wait a few seconds, we do that again. No, because live broadcasting, and if you do a Facebook Live, it's going to be straight on the internet, so you cannot do that. But even in recording that is done freely and there is post production possible, you have the ability to do that. So you have that control as well. Was auditory check, is the recording good? Was everything right? Is the speech good? Can I hear it very well? Was the microphone well adjusted? All these things are very important before you say, okay, I did the recording, I'm done, and now it's post-production time. These things are going to influence it. So you need absolutely to check everything. PowerPoint doesn't want to change. Why? No. And so next of all is the tactical workflow. And that tactical workflow is really the thing you need to be doing for preparing your post-production. So actually, when we talk about creating content in this industry, we talk about three phases. We have the pre-production, the production, and the post-production phase. And the last subject that we're talking about were the pre-production and the production. And now with tactical workflow, we're going to go to post-production. So finalizing everything. So first of all, you need to know if you created, for instance, online trainings. Well, was your audio and your video recorded synchronized? Because that's important. If it's not, you will need to do manual syncing afterwards. Was it recorded synchronized? Super easy. You don't need to do that syncing anymore. And there are some programs that exist that are super easy to do that automatically, because it's going to listen to the sound from the camera and compare that to the sound that was recorded, for instance, with an external recorder and your microphone, and it's going to put that together. So there are programs that work for that, but they can get quite expensive. And then of course, so what do you need to add or change on the sound? It's important to always check that before you start, because you can have or be a lot more efficient once you already know what you will need to do on your recording. And of course, the knowledge about what the best software is to use and what workflow to use on there. Of course, awesome fine tuning. Apply the right post-production workflow. And I can tell you, there are a lot of things you can do with post-production, and there are a lot of things you can't do with post-production. And that's important to know when you do those recordings. For instance, yeah, if I misspoken myself during my podcast, I can definitely super easily with post-production cut up a part of my speech, put those pieces back together, and it's like I never made that mistake, and it works perfectly. But for instance, if I am recording here my podcast, and suddenly my dog begins to bark while I'm speaking in my speech, that is nearly impossible to correct and to have, well, great sound at the end. You can do with some vocal editing and some denoising. You can do a lot of things, but you will never have that awesome, great sounding quality at the end. And of course, you don't want to have that. And yeah, of course, you need to export everything in the right format. So that's also important. Is your content going to be for voice on its own? So for instance, a podcast or music, or is it going to be linked with a video? Because then it needs to have different specs when it's exported and it's linked back up together. Be a little technical now. Um, Music or sound, and it's on its own, is mostly exported in 44.1 kilohertz and in 16-bit if it's for CD quality, 24-bit when it's mostly online. But then again, is it waveform? Is it MP3? Is it so sound that is has its full potential, or is it compressed sound? Because that also will influence the quality of the sound. Of course, compressed sound will be a lot smaller, so the file is going to be a lot smaller to put online. And if we're creating sound for a video, it needs to be 48 kilohertz, because otherwise the sound pitch is not going to be right when I link them up. And if you have ever tried that to record any, basically any recording with your phone or with any other microphone in 44.1, a standard recording size that you can have, a file size you can have with those devices, and you link that sound suddenly in on a video file, that you will hear that suddenly your sound is super pitched. It's like, huh? What happened there? And that's because those file sizes, those programs that link up the sound to the video, needed to be 48 kilohertz. So some more advanced programs will automatically change that and adapt it and convert it. But not necessarily all programs and cheaper programs do that. So you need to watch out for those things. And of course, check the final end result and enjoy it. Because that's also important. If you spend a lot of time, a lot of energy in having the right sound, you will enjoy your end result. And that's the cool thing about that. Now, how can I help you? Because it's good to talk about all these things, but well, not necessarily all of you or have the knowledge around that. What is the right microphone? What is the right software? What can I use easily for what type of situations to have those right results? And actually, with the COVID, I saw more and more people going online and creating those content, but sadly with the bad quality. And I started to think, well, how can I help those entrepreneurs? And I developed my audio consultancy part, where I help entrepreneurs choose the right gears for their projects and to help them to train them. And I created online live training programs. And in those modules, in the first module, we're going to go to look for pre-production, how you can prepare well. Second module is going to look more at how to make qualitative and neat recordings, so the production phase. And the third module will ensure qualitative end result, so everything that has to do with post-production. Now, I know that depending of the style of project that you're going to do, you need more or less information. And for the moment, I have two levels that are created. I have one that is more oriented to dance, yoga, and sports instructors that want to do live classes only, or that style of recording situations, so that they're not necessarily sitting in a fixed position behind their computer, but they're moving and showing things and further away. They need different gear than someone like me now doing my recording. If I start moving around, showing things and go 5 meters behind me and back, this microphone is not going to do what I needed to do and have that right sound. Um, so that's the first level, because it's actually quite an easy level. And then the second level is going to more for entrepreneurs that are more broadly want to create audiovisual products, podcasts, creating online videos, creating webinars, creating vlogs, and creating even a YouTube channel. All those things are going to go more in that level. So I also have a third level, but that is more for professional filmmakers that want to enhance their sound quality. Because I can tell you one thing: the people I've had the most problems with to tell them that sound quality is important and to have the right sound were not entrepreneurs, but were camera operators, camera guys. People that have those devices in their hands that make the video, that do the editing of the video. The shot is more important than the sound. And yes and no. The sound is super important. But what I noticed quite a lot of time, and there are a lot of independent camera operators or filmmakers that are actually amazing, amazing artists on creating videos. But their video quality is amazing, but their sound quality is sometimes bad and most of the time bad. And suddenly, when they start to work together with a sound engineer on certain projects, when they have that budget, suddenly the sound is amazing. And the difference in quality in these projects shouldn't be there. And that's why I created that third level. I'm not showing it right here because I wasn't sure that any anyone would be a movie director or a camera operator. But I do also have that third level, so that is really, really more in depth for these people and for these situations. So how long is this course, and when will you be able to follow it or do it? So it's going to be 2 weeks of online classes for the level one, 5 weeks of online classes for the level two, and well, for the level three, it's more going to be about 2 months of training um, to get there. Now it's 2 times 2 hours of classes with a Q&A session per week. So it's all live classes in this form through Zoom, where I will give those trainings. And of course, if you need any support or any questions, the Q&As are there. I can help you and support you privately as well. Um, so both trainings are going to start on the week of the 23rd of November. So if you're interested in those courses, that's a bit the timing that I will have in mind. I will check with the student what days and what hours works the best, and I will try to fix that depending on that. Because of course, if my audience is more in Europe, or is more in the States, or is more in Asia, it will probably be different hours that I will need to give those courses. So that will of course depend a little bit on the most of the audience that I have. But if you want to have, well, a new style of training, I'm also creating a pop-up podcast. And what is that pop-up podcast? It's basically the content of that level two that I will be bringing or presenting in 1 week time in a podcast form. So it's going to be me talking about all these subjects and giving all those details in podcast form. So it's a beta version because it's the first time I'm going to do that. What is different, of course, between that and the other levels is that that pop-up podcast is going only to be available for 1 week. So you will need to tune in, listen in very fast and every day to have all that content. Um, but that's also why the price on that will be different. So for the level one training, it's going to be 95 euro x VAT. And for the level two, it's 595 euro x VAT. And for the pop-up podcast, it's only going to be 15 euro x VAT. So there's a big difference in price, but it's also because it's the very first one I'm going to do. And it's a bit new for me as well. And I want the quality of the content will be the same. So don't think that. So actually, it's quite a crazy price for that pop-up podcast, but it's just since it's a beta, it's a new one. I want to give the available a bit. Well, actually, try to connect to a lot of people around the world because these subjects are super important and this knowledge is super important. But I want it to be available also for more people, and that's what I can do with a pop-up podcast. And it's a bit different with a Zoom session because, of course, if I do a Zoom training, I can't have 100 entrepreneurs in that session that I can help personally as well. With a pop-up podcast, it doesn't mind. Anyone can listen around the world on that podcast, of course, if they've um, paid to listen to it. So, well, it's probably quite important to know where you can find me and how you can find more information about these trainings as well. So, first of all, I'm actually quite proud, but I started my own podcast now a month ago, and or nearly a month ago. We're 3 weeks in, and it's called The Sound of Business. And you can find it on different platforms. I have it on iTunes, the iTunes Store. I have it on Spotify as well. I have it on Google Podcasts as well. So there are quite a lot of places where you can find it. But of course, if you go on the website, thesoundofbusiness.now.site, you can find more information about the podcast and where you can find it. For the pop-up podcast, it's going to be pop-up podcast slash sonata.now.site slash home, where you will find more information about that, where you can subscribe for that pop-up podcast as well. Then the general website, sonatproductions.be slash en, because standard that site is going to be in Dutch. Sorry guys, I live in Belgium, so yeah, my first language is Dutch, but the site is also in English, so you can go with EN at the end to have the English version. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah, quite a lot of different social media platforms that I'm out there. Look for Sonata Productions and you will find me. Or on LinkedIn, my own profile, of course, Nicholas Schmidt. So I hope you got a little bit more sensible about the importance of sound and that you learned some new things. But now I'm quite interested also to know a little bit more about your questions and how I can help you a little bit more, advise you a little bit more about the things you want to do. Because I probably, indeed, if you want to start a podcast, it's going to be different questions. And if you're going to focus on a YouTube channel, it's going to be other questions. So I'm open for questions.
Yeah, Pierre, I've got a question. A lot of people, well, almost everybody now is working on Zoom, and their meetings, business meetings are on Zoom, and their sales meetings are on Zoom. And I found that on some of these meetings, when the sound quality is quite hard to hear, it's quite harsh, it's quite uncomfortable, you kind of don't want to listen to what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of realizing that to make the experience, like the sales experience or the business meeting experience, really good for your customer,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to have you know, the sound really nice. Like people talk a lot about lighting and they talk about making the background nice and stuff, but the sound, it's nice. So I'm guessing that you're recommending like a directional mic. What's it called?
Mm-hmm.
What do you call it? A
shotgun microphone.
And so, yeah, I just wondered if there was kind of, if you could make some kind of simple recommendations that people could make an improvement very quickly with is there a kind of a simple plug-in mic that you might recommend, or would you recommend people don't buy really cheap mics, or is there a simple solution that people can start with that would just start to make that, you know, kind of make it a little bit better so that more people can, you know, just like start?
Yeah, so it's actually a great question, and it's a thing that a lot of entrepreneurs should think about too, because indeed, creating audiovisual projects is one thing, but indeed having live meetings and having the right sound is as well super important. And I've done a lot of BNI meetings where people have bad sound quality and you're not able to listen to them at all. It's just annoying. So yeah, there are a lot of things that you can do. Of course, again, there depends all on the budget you want to invest in it or do with that. In a sense, I would say if you have the ability to have more budget because you're probably going to use that gear for other stuff, other projects, like if you're going to do podcast recordings, you're going to probably create live webinar, doing online trainings, and you're doing business meetings as well, it probably gives more sense to invest in gear that is a little more expensive than if you would just be doing normal calls and meetings. Then I would advise different stuff. For if you're just doing simple calls, nothing too fancy, investing in most USB microphones will already make a difference. So depending on there's a little price difference as well, but it won't be the right fit for that. Honestly, if you can, I would recommend you going for a shotgun microphone. So like the style I have here. I will maybe put out my virtual background that you can see my microphone a little bit more. Yay. So this bad guy. This one is a little bit more expensive module, but you have a great quality ones that you will find around $200, $250 for these microphones. The only thing you will need with those microphones is a sound card to provide the energy for that microphone to have the sound going into your computer and convert it. So convert from analog sound to digital sound for your computer. All that together, a great setup costs about, yeah, let's say $450 or euros, something like that. So you could say it's already a budget, but it's not that expensive neither. For a lot of business owners, that run quite well with your businesses, that's not that much to invest in, and you will have great sound, just like I have right now. This setup actually is that setup I'm talking about, and this cost me around, yeah, €40, something like that. So with that sound quality, that
So
might be a price that is interesting,
the,
especially if you're creating more projects around that.
the sound card, you mean you're talking about something like a Scarlet Box or something?
Yeah, something like that. So
Just
indeed,
put different microphones into the Scarlet Box, which just whatever.
yeah, basically, so there are two types of microphone, or actually more than that, but I will keep it simple. You will find different style of microphones that have different type of connections. The first one you will find are the USB versions. So microphones that you plug straight into your computer. These are digital microphones, and most of the time not ideal for most situations, unless, and that's what I mean, because you have like super known microphones that everyone is recommending, like the Yeti microphones.
Yeah.
Things do work, but not in the situation where you put them half a meter away from you on the desk, because it will record a lot of background noise around you as well, and room noise around you. Those microphones, if you use one like that, I would recommend you putting it in front of you, 5 to maximum 10 centimeters away, to have the best sound quality possible. And that's not a thing you will be able to do well with those or have you write my sound with those microphones. And then you have the microphones that have an XLR input. So they need a special sound cable, and they need a device that is going to power them and take the sound from them. And that you will need a sound card. And that sound card can be like a Focusrite Scarlet Solo or 2i2. These things cost around, yeah, €100, something like that. Those are not expensive. If I can recommend the brands, definitely go for the Focusrite brand. They have quite cheap, super awesome sounding audio part, and that's audio interface. They're called audio interface. And actually, I'm using now that Focusrite Scarlet audio interface. It costs €100, and you can hear that sound quality is good. What I'm having right now, not to brag or anything, but it's not that an expensive setup that I have, and it's working perfectly, and I can have amazing sound with that. If you don't have that budget and you want to find something that is more all round for different style of project, I could recommend you going for, there is a brand called Sabintech, and they have the Smart Mic. I actually have one right here. Quite a luck that I have. Did not put it away. And it's actually a super tiny wireless microphone. It's this little bugger. It's actually a Bluetooth microphone. So it connects to your phone, to your computer, and you can have quite good sound quality with these things. They cost, I think, $120, something 130, something like that. So it's actually not expensive for a Bluetooth microphone that you can connect with your phone, with your computer. And what is amazing about these things is they have integrated noise reduction. So that means that if you're walking around in the street or there's sound happening around you, you can actually change the settings in this microphone with your phone, or the app on your phone or on computer, and you can change how hard it's going to put all the noise away around you. So these are excellent little buggers that you can use. I am actually an affiliate partner from them as well, since I've seen them, tested them, and they've brought out other products that are amazing and quite in cheap prices. Now, don't expect the sound quality to be like this microphone. It's going to be different, but it's going to be powerful and more than good enough. And especially the denoise possibility is amazing on these things. And you see, here is no denoise. My fiance is now feeding the dog, and you can hear that. It won't happen with this microphone.
What's the name of those? Because I've used one of these Bluetooth mics. I used a different brand, probably looks a bit different from that, and it was quite noisy. The quality of it was just a bit rough.
Yeah.
So I guess they're all different. So what is
there
that?
are a lot of different brands, a lot of different style of different names around that and quality. This one is Sabintech. So I don't know if you can read it. Something like, I will put my affiliate link in the chat so you
Yeah.
could check them out and see it. But I highly recommend these. For the actually, if I would have any gear, basically with a shotgun microphone, my sound card, and this, I can do nearly everything. That is from live recordings, live calls, and for those yoga instructors, I definitely push everyone to this. And it has quite amazing capabilities as well. You can mix sound in this as well. So if from your phone you're playing a song, if you do like a karaoke style, it works with that thing. So it will send the sound from the music into that Bluetooth. You have a jack port, so you can put your headphones or your ears to listen to it. You can hear the music, you sing, and it's automatically going to remove the voice from that song and add your voice on it. So it's quite crazy what they made on this.
What's the battery life on it?
So running in these, for me, they have worked for 7 hours straight.
Bloody hell. That's a
So
lot.
that's
And some of the others, I've tried another one that just like 20 minutes.
yeah, no, these are amazing, and that's why I highly recommend these. But I will put the affiliate link in the chat so you can check them out, and of course, if you buy them, it would be nice if I get a little percentage on that as well. We're promoting them as well. No, but honestly, they're great things. And if you're doing a lot of live situations and you're gonna have quite a lot of room noise around you and you sounds, definitely go for these ones as well. And they're honestly not expensive if you compare that to different brands, different situations, different type of microphones. So I hope it answers a little bit your question.
Hi, that was really interesting, Pierre. Is it Pierre Nicolau? Shall I call you Pierre?
You can call me Pierre. It's officially Pierre Nicolas, but you can call me Pierre. No worries.
Just wanted to check. What do you edit if you are? What do you edit your sound on? Not you, but normally, what would be a good sound editing software? Because I've tried a few whose names escape me, and they were all very hard. Because if you're used to editing video, sorry about the noise in the background.
No worry.
Yeah, sorry. I agree. So editing sound is a whole other ball game. It was so hard. I just struggle, and then I gave up. One of the main reasons why bear with me. Sorry.
No worries.
There's some very heated arguments about Tenet, which, by the way, if you have seen, I couldn't follow much of what was being said because it was really, I mean, the sound was so, I do not know how it got by. I couldn't understand anything. On top of the characters are talking like this, you know, and you can't see what they're saying. You can't even lip read. So you half the time you're going, what's going on? You know, A, it's a Chris Nolan movie, and B, I couldn't understand. So I tried, what was this, Audible? No, I can't, trying to remember.
Audible?
Not Audible. Yeah, I tried with some of the, and I edited and just found it so hard and I gave up.
So yeah, one is that's used quite a lot of time and that is free is Audacity.
Yeah, that's the one. Audacity, and it was a free software, and it just it did my head in, and I just said I'm never going to try editing sound on that, and it just was not intuitive at all. In the way that, say, a free video editing software is, it's quite intuitive. It wasn't for me. So, and the main reason I even went to this Anchor was, I know it was recording on the phone, was because the editing was very simple, very simple. So that was the thing. But that said, I've got another Zoom. I've got a Zoom, and it's not the best, but you know, it's not even it's not even a 5. It's this H2N. It's a 2, but you know, it's small and it's more portable. It records on 4 channels if need be. But
I know them.
you know, it's
they're decent. They're good.
They're good. They're quite sturdy. They're also quite discreet. You know, they're not too intimidating in that sense, if you wanted to. But but
Post-production.
it's an omnidirectional, not whatever.
Oh, omnidirectional microphone, indeed. So that's also important, but yeah, there's so many things to talk about. Let's say that omnidirectional, what is the difference? So this microphone is a shotgun microphone. So it's all sound is picked up from the front. Omnidirectional is really 360.
All over the place, yeah.
All over the place.
All over the place.
Every sound around that microphone is going to be recorded.
Yes, yes. I made the mistake of recording somebody. My biggest. I got some very, very interesting, but in a very noisy cafe, and I just it was impossible to retrieve it because there's no. It's just horrible. It was such a waste of time. But that's it. What is a good
post-production
free edit, if free or maybe affordable sound editing software?
So depending on the computer that you have different styles of softwares that are available. A not too expensive one, if you have a Mac, it's Logic. The free version is GarageBand. You can already do quite a lot of things in there, but Logic is the more professional version. It costs around, well, nearly 200 euros, something like that. But it's honestly a quite fully packed production software, post-production software for sound at least. Now, if you're a Windows user, well, there are other different brands. I'm using quite expensive and good ones like Pro Tools and Nuendo, but these are expensive. They're like, Nuendo is like 1,000 euro or 1,200 euro. So it's quite expensive, but it's super broad what to do with that. Honestly, if you're making or thinking about making videos as well, so videos, online courses, I would definitely recommend you to go to DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
DaVinci Resolve is actually a video editing software, but it has an integrated audio post-production in there. And it is good. It's really, really good. Honestly, I've tested out and I can do nearly the same job I can do with 1,000 euro software. And there's some basic plugins, basic software you can add on your sound, and that works amazingly. So if you're used on doing video editing, then it will definitely work with DaVinci Resolve because it is basically a video editing software.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know that, but it's actually a great one, and it's quite intuitive. If you know how sound works and to do sound post-production, you can easily work with DaVinci Resolve.
Okay. The free version of DaVinci Resolve is good for sound as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The only difference is with the paid version is that you have more software you can use and add and change things, but it's actually mostly the grading well, I would say presets and all those things that you pay for. It's not that much for the audio processing or different I would say plugins, the plugins for editing your sound. So the plugins, the basic plugins are actually great from DaVinci Resolve that you get with the free version. And the paid version is more the preset for, all the rest for the video part.
You can get a free version of Pro Tools with the Scarlet.
Yeah, indeed. Pro Tools LE is when you buy those Focusrite sound cards, audio interfaces, you get Pro Tools LE, the free version on there with. Actually, you can do basically the same as DaVinci Resolve, but DaVinci Resolve you can do more.
Yeah.
That's why if you're using or creating video, maybe stay in DaVinci Resolve. Because that's sometimes also the trouble is that when you start doing video and audio, you're editing your video in a certain software and then probably doing your audio in another software, and you need to synchronize and put that over from one. Depending on the projects you're doing, it's time consuming and more complicated. So if you want to make your life easy, go with DaVinci Resolve and you could do literally everything in there or nearly everything in there. And yeah, I've tested it out and it's funny. I've done quite some editing for my own projects in Resolve. Of course, if you're doing just audio, well, I don't need to go in Resolve because I have other tools for just audio like Nuendo and Pro Tools and Logic. But if I'm doing video, you will see me use DaVinci Resolve. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I hope that answers a little bit more your questions about these things. But of course, yeah, I created those trainings because there are so much things that I can talk
I
about,
agree.
and I need to show you these things. It's difficult for me. Well, I can give you already that information,
Yeah.
but to help you to have the right quality and do the right things, I need to show you. And
Yeah.
that I can do, and I do in my trainings.
It's been really helpful. Thank you. Thank you. I've got to go because I apologize, but it was really, really, really helpful. I made a note of your website and looked at some of the courses. I will, well, I've already gone on the website as well and to make little donations. But thank you so much. Thanks so much, Lucy, for sharing this information. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Pierre.
Thank
You're welcome.
Can you share the link to that mic, that mini mic?
I've had a look at that. I've booked Sabine Tech.
Yeah, I will send you my affiliate link. I will do that immediately in the chat, so you have it.
Anne's already posted your website.
Abby, I can forward you the link for the
But
mic.
if you use this link that I just put in the
that one.
chat,
You get a
Affiliate.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Affiliate link. Oh, nice.
so I
Super.
have the affiliate link
That's
for,
really, really helpful.
for
If
example.
you can save the chat so that you can look
And
at it.
I will send you a list with all my websites and everything and my links to Anne, and she can distribute it to everyone as well. So
Oh yeah, with the email.
yeah.
Okay. No, that's
Thank you
brilliant.
very much. Thank you. Thank you. I've never heard of this
Thank you
company.
for coming. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye. Bye, Lucy. Bye,
Yeah,
Anne.
Abby, thank you.